left, right.
Yo, what's up? Thank you for joining. This episode is about the Chinese New Year and about the death of the snow day. What are we going to do for future snow days when all the kids are at home learning from their tablets and their iPads and their home computers when school could have just been canceled because of the snow? Things are changing and life is changing for all of us. So listen on. Let me know what you think about our speculation about what is the Chinese New Year and about the future of snow days. I will see you guys on the other end. See ya. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Of course, it's good.
Cheers.
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 All right, that bottle pop is our cue. Welcome to Sip Talk, everyone, episode 164. My name is Justin DiGiulio, joined by James, the Bosnator Boswell out of Charleston, South Carolina. The Bosnator is a philosopher, a professional referee, a professional bartender, and most exciting of all, an accountant. James, how are things
It's been a
hanging
blast
down
the
there?
last couple of weeks.
How are things down there in good old South Carolina?
Better than they are in New York, apparently. It's kind of chilly down here, but so my mom was in town visiting for the last 4 or 5 days, and there were a couple nights where I saw that the temperature in Albany was 1.
Yeah, man. So it gets cold, man. I actually, and you might know about this because you grew up kind of in the mountains. But I made a mistake. I wasn't home the day that it snowed. I ended up getting in late the day after it snowed. The sun was already down, so I was like, "Well, shit, I'm not going to go out and shovel." So what happens when you drive over the snow is that it gets packed down and then becomes something that really can't be shoveled because the packed snow basically turns into ice. And now I've gone in and out for 3 days worth of back and forth. So now the driveway is basically just a sheet of ice. So I've just given up on the idea of shoveling, and that it is what it is. So today
Yeah,
we're going
you
to
have a
talk.
free driveway in like March.
Yeah, it's not thawing anytime soon. So today we're going to talk about the death of the snow day, because I think that's a very real thing for a lot of people. And we're talk a little bit about the Chinese New Year, because that's starting today. The Chinese New Year, very exciting, especially
Wait,
especially exciting.
is that like a multi-day thing?
Well, it's especially exciting if you are Chinese, because obviously you know absolutely nothing about
Yeah,
the
but you
Chinese New
said
Year.
it's starting today. That's implying like it's more than one day.
Well, I have here in my notes that it's a 15 to 16-day celebration of the New Year. So,
Hmm.
so that's good cause for celebration. The Lunar New Year or the Chinese New Year. It's based on the Chinese calendar, actually, but I feel like people are calling it the Lunar New Year because they're trying not to be racist. So I've heard it being called the Lunar New Year more and more starting last year, and like almost exclusively this year. Like I'm seeing everybody's Instagram posts, instead of saying Happy Chinese New Year, they almost all exclusively say Happy Lunar New Year, which
Right, but like, is it celebrated by any country besides China?
so some of the Asian countries celebrate a little bit, but and they don't celebrate the way China does because Chinese has a solar calendar that they follow called the Chinese solar calendar, which is obviously the fact that February 1st people are celebrating and doing parades in the street and there's dancing dragons in the streets. Nobody who's non-Chinese is like familiar with what any of this means. The meaning of the dragon is, or the meaning of the celebrations are. So it's my understanding that it's exclusive to China. China's a
I'm
big
just
place.
thinking, why not call it Chinese New Year if it's celebrated exclusively by the Chinese?
Well, that's because the real answer is because Donald Trump called coronavirus the China virus, which he was most likely right that it came from China, but he was very much wrong in the repercussions that calling it the China virus had. Whereas a bunch of people in the streets just get mad at Chinese people. And Trump should
Right.
have had the foresight to have foreseen that.
Well, and I think even at early on, when it didn't really have a name, calling it the China virus was nowhere near as bad as continuing to insist on calling it the China virus after it had a name, and he was told that that was a bad idea, and it was inflaming racial tensions.
And we
It's like,
were seeing pretty
of all
regular.
people, I'm actually willing to give him a small pass in like the first week or two.
Well,
But
but that's yes, I suppose a small pass in the very beginning, but he did persist, and that's the issue with Trump is that some of his ideas aren't like fully, totally shitty ideas. A lot of okay ideas. It's the execution and the follow through, and just the general tone of the deployment of the ideas. Like fuck everybody else, I'm just going to do it. These things
well,
are happening. I'm just going to
like
keep
on
running
the
with
topic of China, one of the few things that I liked that Trump did was his stance on Chinese economic policy and a generally combative tone to China on a lot of things.
Well, because
I
China. So let me ask you pose this real quick. So China, I just bought this video game console that comes directly from China, and it's just completely ripped off. I didn't know this. I'm looking at the packaging, but they've completely ripped all the copyrights of all of the games, and they're basically just reproducing all of these. I mean, probably Japanese and American games.
let's
But
say hi to
it's not.
Maria real quick.
Hi, Maria. Nice to have you with us. Hello, everyone on Instagram. Irma, Breno, Ferrari, Tori, I saw in there. We got TikTok over here. So if you guys are watching live, you want to call in, share a little bit about the death of the snow day or about the Chinese New Year, any questions you have for us, not that we're the most apt to answer it. We're simply discussing it. Check out the link in my Instagram profile while we are live to join us live. But it's funny, we're talking about the Chinese New Year because China is actually one of your top countries. It's always the top of your list of countries to be terrified of, right?
It's the number one. Like people, because I've had like friends that have gone to China on vacation or like as a tourist, and I'm just like, I can't believe you would do that. I would never go there because I would be afraid that like one small misstep could land me in a Chinese prison.
For life.
Yeah.
You're not getting out of this Chinese dungeon prison. I don't know anything about Chinese prisons actually, but I do imagine they're scary. I was thinking that very similar to the tensions going on in Russia, that now must be an absolutely terrible time to travel to Russia. So, that's generally
Russia's my number two.
Yeah, but generally how anybody would feel about traveling to Russia from the U.S. right now is how you should feel about traveling to China anytime.
Mm-hmm.
So you got China number one. I'm just curious how the scale works. You got China number one, Russia number two. What's next? North Korea?
Yeah, North
If you could get
Korea
in.
would be higher, but for the fact that their reach is very small. I watched a video about how difficult it is to escape North Korea for like North Korean citizens that want to leave, and it's virtually impossible. Like your choices are like trying to hike across a mountain range into like north into China, where China, and if you get caught anywhere in China, China's sending you back to North Korea, or trying to cross the demilitarized zone on the border between North and South Korea, which 100% of that border is covered with floodlights and guard towers. And anyone who passes a certain line, the the North Korean guards have permission to just open fire without question. Now, once you cross the line to South Korea like grants citizenship to any North Korean defectors. So like, the South Korean soldiers will not shoot at the North Korean people trying to run across, unless they're shooting at them, but that's not going to happen.
No, they want to come in. But I think that says a lot about the two countries. That South Korea is aware that North Korea is fucking crazy, and North Korea is just fucking crazy. So
and people ask, why don't we just like get rid of North Korea, because they're a pretty weak regime and it wouldn't be very hard to just conquer them. But I think all the countries in the region have a somewhat vested interest in keeping North Korea the way it is, not because it's good, but because if the North Korean regime crumbles, then you're going to have North Korea's got a population of about 25 million, I think. And
Oh,
that's
shit. Okay.
20 if I'm wrong, but like let's just say it's 25 million. That's 25 million people, 98 to 99% are malnourished, propagandized, uneducated, and not familiar with anything modern. And all those people would then become effectively refugees that countries like South Korea, North Korea, and China would have to deal with.
I have never thought of it that way, but I can tell the listeners that living in a country like North Korea, which is a true dictatorship, where you don't have access to really, you can't witness the outside world. You are basically like back in time, and you are also misled by the president of the country. You know that it said that he said recently that his father invented the burrito back in like 2001. Did you
Yeah,
hear that?
the amount of like just bullshit lies that they come up with just because is insane. My favorite story, I think it was, so it's Kim Jong Un right now. Kim Jong Il apparently played golf one time. Do you know this?
No.
So he played golf one time. They built a golf course for him. They give him the clubs. He goes out there, and there's 18 holes in golf, right?
Okay.
I think he shot somewhere between like an 18 and a 36. So he
He's never
So,
played golf
for
before.
reference, the world's best golfers, like like an incredibly good round
Well,
for
in
like
order
one
to
of the
get
best
a,
golfers
in
in the
order
world
to
is
get,
like a 60.
well, in order to get an 18, that means you have to get a hole in one every time.
Yeah, and if he
It
didn't get a
means
hole in one, then he got a hole in two.
yeah, it means this
So
guy's just
apparently he
shooting the
played.
balls. Yeah, but he's shooting the balls into outer space, and somebody's dropping them, or as close to outer space as he can get, and somebody's just dropping them on the green.
Yeah, exactly. So he played one round of golf and declared the sport too easy and never played again.
Good for him. Good for him. Now, would you know which one it is? The current president, or is it was his
Kim
father
Jong
beforehand,
Un
right?
is the first one.
Is
I
the current
think
president?
no, is the current president Kim Jong
Yeah.
Il, and then
Is-
yeah, Kim Il
Well,
Sung might have been his like the grandfather.
well, it said that he doesn't have an asshole. You've heard this before?
Oh no,
Yeah, you'll have to Google that one. That's interesting. But
because
yeah, no.
there was something with like him traveling with his own private bathroom, like a bathroom car or something.
That would surprise me. But yeah, I've heard that he supposedly doesn't have an asshole, and this is what's fed to the Korean citizens. So very interesting. Let's
Well, that explains
get
how
on
full
with
of shit he is.
it. Full of shit, exactly. There's no drain. Let's talk a little bit about the Chinese New Year because I wanna just cover that because it's happening now. We'd like to cover current events, and then we can talk about the death of the snow day, and that has nothing to do with global warming. It just has to do with coronavirus, actually.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But back to Chinese New Year. So it's and I haven't done extensive celebration. I just know the basics because I live in New York City. We have a big Chinese population. We have a whole area called Chinatown, which tonight is probably like going crazy. People jumping around the streets because last year they didn't do a whole lot, and the year before that, I think that was 2020 in the beginning of coronavirus, and I think a lot of Chinese people intentionally, even though it wasn't ordered by the government, these people intentionally stayed in because they were a bit fearful of what was happening in China. I could be wrong. I don't know anything about 2020, but I do know last year absolutely nothing happened. It was very, very quiet. But it's a celebration lasting just over 2 weeks. It's very traditional. They do a lot of traditional stuff, including dancing around in the streets, throwing firecrackers. They have a bunch of the paper lanterns and the big dragons that like a bunch of people get in. They move these dragons around. So the all the fire and the firecrackers and the dragons, it's my understanding that this is to ward off evil and bad luck. So trying to scare away bad luck. Similar to like we have a Halloween, in the Western culture, and for Halloween we dress up as scary things to ward off the evil spirits. So similar, but Halloween, to my knowledge, isn't based on moon phases.
How does that explain women's costumes in Halloween?
I don't have any idea how you get the slutty women's costumes in line with scaring away evil spirits. I think if
Yeah, I would
anything,
think if anything that would attract them.
it would attract them. Yeah, interesting. Good observation on that one. So, but they don't dress up. The Chinese don't dress up that I know of for Chinese New Year. They might dress like formally. But they don't wear costumes. Maybe
Unless
some
they're a part of the big dragon.
Yeah, but maybe they're wearing some more traditional clothing, but they don't do like a Halloween thing. And I read that they do a deep clean of their house prior to the new year, and that's because they don't want to be cleaning in the new year and accidentally sweep out some good luck. Does that ever happen to you? You ever swept out any of your good luck? You just kind of screwed for a while after that?
No, I haven't had any to begin with.
So, I mean, that was a clever twist on that. You're Jewish, so you know that you're not supposed to traditional. What's it called? Hasidic Jewish, and what's the other one I'm looking for?
Well, there's Orthodox, Conservative, and Reformed. So like
yeah,
Orthodox, and then Hasidic Jewish is like super Orthodox.
Yeah, so Orthodox and Hasidic Jewish, especially, you're not supposed to do any work after the sun goes down on Friday. So that's your Sabbath. The sun goes down on Friday. You don't do anything work wise until sun goes down on Saturday, and it's kind of, in my opinion, as a non-Orthodox person, a bit crazy. So you can't flip light switches, you can't tie shoes, you can't do anything that can't push buttons, anything that would take like an effort. So it's supposed to be very relaxed. Even though you're not allowed to drive a car, but you're encouraged to walk, which to me seems a bit
like
backwards.
More work.
But the idea is that you get all this stuff done before Friday at sundown. So I was thinking that the Chinese do all this cleaning before the new year in kind of a like, okay, the work will be done. We won't have to do as much work. But the idea is that you clean your home and you expunge all the evil and the bad luck before the new year. And then a lot of these traditions are to bring on the good luck in the new year. So you don't want to be cleaning and sweep out the good luck. Very rational. So what else do I have here? Apparently, they eat noodle soup. We could really use someone who is Chinese to kind of
yeah, like telling me that the Chinese eat noodle soup. I'm pretty sure that that's something they do year round.
Sure, but supposedly the noodles bring. So instead of eating like, so you're supposed to have a soup with noodles in it instead of having like some wontons or something. I'm guessing because noodles bring good luck. And then also, when we think of the dragon in Western culture, the dragons are evil, right? They're scary. They eat
Not
people.
necessarily.
Well,
it really depends on the story.
I mean, I guess maybe there's some newer stories where like the Terminator, whereas in Terminator 2, he came back and he was a good Terminator, but whereas the Terminators were bad. I think the stories that you hear about now are like all dragons are bad, but this is one good egg, right? Like dragons traditionally in Western culture are evil. They eat people. The knight slays the dragon, but in Chinese, the dragon symbolizes wisdom, power, wealth, and dragons. Dragons bring luck. So that was interesting. I didn't realize that was the significance of the dragon. And then you know what year it is, right?
2022.
What the animal is for the Chinese New Year. You know very little about this. It's the year it's the year of the tiger.
I'm pretty sure that's the year that I was born in.
The year of the tiger.
Yeah.
Well, so that's it's my understanding also that people have Chinese people want their babies to be born in certain in certain years. Like you wouldn't want to be, you'd rather be the year of the tiger than the year of the rat
Or the year of the pig.
or the year of the pig. That wouldn't be good. So I'm going to try to get you a list of what these animals mean. But there's the rat, the ox, the tiger, the rabbit, the dragon, the snake, the horse, the goat, the monkey, the rooster, the dog, and then the pig.
So hold on a second. I'm gonna take a wild guess that people would want to be born during the year of the dragon, right?
I think you would want to be more of the dominant animals.
But the dragons are.
Dragons are a dominant animal. Uh, you probably wouldn't want to be like the pig or the rat, I would think.
Yeah, but all right. So let's just, for argument's sake, let's say that the year of the dragon's a desirable year. Why not just make every year the year of the dragon? That's an easy solution.
Well, that would you'd be hacking the system there. Yeah.
I don't know. I think I found a loophole here.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they mean, but I think kind of we're all on the same page that you would want to be like, you could do like a horse, but probably a horse is better than the goat.
Yeah. I don't know. You wanna hit on some snow day stuff?
Well, yeah, I guess we can get it. I guess we can get a snow day because I'm not Chinese and I know very little about the Chinese New Year. But I thought I'd share with you what I knew. I tried to verify that information. It is pretty great to watch these Chinese New Year festivals because there's like people throwing fireworks. You have these giant dragons in the street, which people are dancing with the dragons. It's really very cool. But about snow days. So I realized last year going into the wintertime when a lot of people were still working from home, that if you're set up in a home office and it snows and you can't go to the office, but you weren't going to the office anyways, what's going to happen if they close down your office?
You're still working
Yeah, that's work as usual. So,
unless
you
you
know,
lose power.
uh, yeah, we had a handful of interns that work in the office. There's 6 of these guys, and they all have different levels of motivation in coming in. So one guy told me he couldn't come in one day, and he was supposed to be there at like 10 a.m. He messaged me at like 9:15 and said, "Hey, I won't be able to make it in today." And then the next day I saw him, I was like, "Hey man, what is everything all right? What happened yesterday?" He goes, "Oh, it was my birthday." I said, "Oh, you just found out yesterday morning?" He's like, "Huh?" I was like, "What? Why wouldn't you have foreseen this?" But there was another guy that told me that we had like a little bit of like kind of slushy. This is maybe November. We had like a kind of rainy day where they were kind of predicting some snow, but it just was slushy. And I drove in from New Jersey. My commute is over an hour long, so driving, trains involved, and then a walk. About a 3/4 mile walk from Penn Station to my office, and that's a lot of modes of transportation. So this guy goes, "Hey, I won't be able to come in because of the weather." So I messaged him back and I said, "Well, look, if the trains are running later and you change your mind, feel free to come in." But obviously the trains were running the entire day. So this guy just pulled the weather card to me out of the blue as a reason he couldn't come in. Yet his mode of transportation was going to be walking to the subway, getting on the subway, and walking 1.5 blocks to my office, which is not very far at all. But he pulled the snow day card early and not on an appropriate day for snow day cards. So, but what are your thoughts? You think they're just going to disappear
Well,
entirely? Because there's got to
I
be
think
some
so.
places where there's still.
Some school districts or some like administrators have even said as much. Because I think for those of you who didn't grow up in a climate that had snow, you need to understand how great a snow day was.
Well, also let's define why we would have a snow day as a kid.
Okay, well,
Because
so
our school district was basically half of the train was in the mountains,
hmm
and we
um,
weren't.
yeah, it was like, you would have a snow day when it was too dangerous for the school buses to drive and pick up people. And generally, that meant that overnight you had gotten at least 4 or 5 inches of snow.
Yeah,
At
I would
least.
say yeah, at least I would say you'd have to have. It wasn't something that would evaporate by like the next day or melt by the next day. It had to be a
No, it would
substantial.
usually have to be still snowing in the morning, and you had to have had a decent amount of accumulation overnight.
Oh, because we used to have
2 hour
2 hour delays,
delays.
and in some instances only a 1 hour delay, which meant that like the snow had stopped, like they've been cleaning the streets for a couple hours. They just want to make sure it's good. And then some people would come in 15, 20 minutes late on their bus after the delay just because of minor road conditions. But it was all about safety, and it has to do with the amount of snow that's on the road and the ability and the danger level of getting children. So basically, any danger in that case is, you're going to keep the kids home. But getting the
Well,
children from their homes.
there were roads in our school district that if there was enough snow on them, even if you had like good snow tires on a car, you probably couldn't drive them.
Oh no, yeah, many of the roads, and some of these roads it could be 2 days later, and they'd still be snowed in. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
like
sure. Go
imagine
ahead.
trying to drive up Blue Factory in 6 inches of snow.
Yeah, so James grew up off a road that was very steep, very windy, and actually pretty terrifying. You would and there was a creek that ran down the side of it too, right?
For the first part of it, yeah.
Yeah, so it is a pretty dangerous road. So that's what a snow day is. It's a time when it's too dangerous to get your kids from one place to the other. Now, if you're an adult, getting to work, they're not that worried about your safety getting to and from. It's really just more your ability in getting to and from. So can you, if we get 2 feet of snow, I can't go anywhere until I shovel the driveway.
Yeah.
But it's not. But the employer doesn't care about your safety. When you're kids, the school is responsible for moving the kids. But
Well, it depends on your employer because there would be like state governments that would shut down. And like I know like my mom taught at a college, so there would be days where she wouldn't teach because like they would cancel classes because of the snow. Um,
yeah, well, yeah,
so I think
and
there
that's
are some companies that do better than others, and definitely like government does better there.
Let me just address the comment here on Instagram. Abba Stayad. I'd love to answer your questions about real estate investing, but you have to DM me or shoot me an email to so I can address them when we're not talking about snow days. But we're talking about snow days and how they're disappearing, and has nothing to do with global warming. Although I imagine we see less snowfall because of global warming on average.
Yeah,
Although in
but
certain places, maybe some more snowfall.
true.
Uh,
But yeah, no, we're not talking about less snow causing less snow days. We're talking about how in the last 2 years with coronavirus and students having mandatory remote learning, now the expectation is that students can learn from home regardless of the circumstances. So you no longer have
how
a snow day, it's just a remote learning day.
remote learning day. That does really suck. Now I don't know how remote learning. I figure if you're a school, you have to either be in full remote learning mode, or I thought this actually a year ago. You were in full remote learning mode, or you were in full in school mode. But now they started doing this hybrid thing where if somebody in your class tests positive, the whole class goes home or that person goes home. And there's a lot of shifting back and forth. So now the schools really need to be able to be on their toes in terms of deciding, whether they're going to be teaching online or not. And I imagine that has to start with every kid having an internet connection and some type of device that's capable of connecting.
Yeah. Um, but I think we need to explain why snow days are a good thing because there's going to be some negative Nancy's out there saying, well, it's good. Kids don't need to miss a day of learning.
I don't think there's that many people saying that, but
No, not
I do.
many.
I do think that that would be the positive spin on it, is that they don't have to allot for these days, which traditionally the schools have for these days. They usually allot for, depending on the region, 3 or 4
Like 3 to
days.
5 for us, I think.
Yeah, where there will be no learning, there will be no school, so the curriculum has to be adjusted to fit so many days off where you're not learning. But I think you're right. It's nice to have a nice surprise day where you're forced to kind of, play on your own. Or like maybe that happens a lot as a kid. I'm not sure on this.
These days, more than in the past.
Well, no, because a lot of kids just get stuck in they'll watch TV or playing an iPhone or an iPad. I think the real fun in the snow day is getting out and playing in the snow. I know it was for us when we were kids.
Sure, but there was also just the serendipity of you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about I have to go to school and I have to do work and I have to be a person. And then you wake up and you turn on the news and you look outside and everything's white and it's quiet and it's beautiful. And then you turn on the news and you see that your school is closed and you're like, I don't have to have responsibilities today. I can just do whatever I want.
So that's changed also in some ways as well, because for us, we had to remember the TV guide channel. You had to sit there and
Mm-hmm.
you'd watch as the channels would scroll through and show you what TV shows they had. On the for snow days, you'd have to go to the basic channels, which I don't remember what they were for
Yeah, it'd
us.
be the local news in the morning.
The local news channels, and on the bottom of the screen, different schools would scroll by, and then
Yeah,
of
like
course,
a stock ticker.
yeah, like a stock ticker, and it was alphabetical. So if you missed yours, you'd have to sit there and watch the whole thing over. I remember just like trying to glue my eyes to the TV because you get distracted. You get distracted easily, and you kind of start looking away, and then you miss your school. So you're excited. You got to
Yeah,
sit there in front of
and
the TV.
especially as you're watching all these other schools, you're like, come on, man, everybody else is getting it and we aren't.
And then sometimes you watch, it'll start with like a 1 hour delay. It can turn into a 2 hour delay, and then it can turn into a full snow day, which I never had the perspective of the parents on that, where the parents are like, I hope they fucking go to school. Like I gotta go to work. But we were very hopeful for that snow day. That was a lot of fun. Snow day
Yeah, and then you
activities.
just like get to go outside and like sled and make snowmen and
Well, so that's
like,
so I got
yeah,
a
it was
little list
awesome.
of some snow day activities, and they include hot chocolate. If there's ever a day, I don't drink a lot of hot chocolate these days. Maybe one glass of hot chocolate in the last several years that I can even remember. But I think your parents always should have had those packets of Swiss Miss somewhere in the cabinets, and you just heat. I don't know if you boil water or you put milk
Yeah,
in
you
it.
heat up some water, you put a little bit of milk and mix in the chocolate.
Exactly, and that's your. There's no better day for a hot chocolate than a snow day, and also, you know what I like as an adult. Some of the things I like doing on a snow day is like some mulled wine or a nice soup. I think if you're gonna make your own soup, a nice snowy day is a really good day to make a soup. Are you a soup guy?
Yep. Yeah, I
Yep.
like soup and yeah, like hot tea.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and when I was a kid, we used to go play in the snow, and then my mom would bring soup outside to us. I don't know if you were ever there for that. My mom, I don't. She used to put it.
No.
She used to put it in like Tupperware and then bring it outside to us, which was in retrospect, it's a really kind of strange thing. I'll have to ask her. Like, was it us kids requesting that you bring us the food outside? But we used to get a lot of snow. I would say minimum 3 times a year we would get hit with a couple of feet.
I'd say
And
like not a couple of feet. Like getting more than a foot was pretty rare, but I would say getting like 8 to 12 inches in a day happened probably 4 or 5 times.
yeah, relatively common. And then I had a big driveway growing up. So what would happen is the town plow would turn around in our driveway, which meant we had a long driveway, and they would plow the snow all the way to the end of the driveway, and they'd make these giant snow banks inside my driveway. And then what we would do is we would kind of hollow these out with shovels and kind of kick through them and stuff, and we would make little like igloo.
Basically an igloo.
Yeah, and then you could hang out inside of this. And remember, the plow is not. They're not just like dropping like fluffy snow. The plow is really pushing it, so you get this really well packed, thick, hard, almost icy building, basically. So you can build that out.
Well, I remember the big snow pile would be right up next to your house, next to your porch, and you could jump out of your porch, which is like 15 feet up, and then land in the snow pile, and like the snow pile would cushion you. And I remember one day we got a whole bunch of snow, and you had a snow pile, and you were jumping into it, and then like the next day was a school day, and like it had gotten above freezing.
Can I paint this picture a little better? So we had a porch that was on the second floor of the house, and what we could do is we would climb up on the balcony of the porch, basically, and leap, and there'd be a giant snowbank below, so you could leap into these snowbanks from above and just land pretty comfortably in this big. I mean, the snow was, depending on which pile of snow it was from the plow, kind of pack it in. But for the most part, you could jump in and you'd sink into the snow. So I'll let you finish.
Yeah, so you're probably you're probably dropping 6 or 7 feet into this snow pile. And so yeah, the day after it got like slightly above freezing, and then got really cold the next night, and then we're in school the next day, and I see you walking around limping. Like, what in the world happened?
Well, what happened was it warmed up, so the snow melted a little bit, and then it got really cold, so the snow froze and then became a big block of ice. So then, leaping off of the second floor into this snowbank was not a snowbank. It was just a big ice, whatever you want to call it, But that made me think of a couple other stories I have with some snow. So when we were in high school, there was one time that they had plowed partially the parking lot for the school, and this is before the school had any light poles up or anything. It was just one giant parking lot, and what we were doing is we would kind of drive through these paths that they had plowed, and they must have pulled the plows out of the school garage and plowed these paths, but then it still snowed another 4 or 6 inches. So the paths had snow on them, were slippery, but you could drive on them. So I went a couple of times out here, and then I went and picked up a friend, and we're spinning around, and at one point we get stuck. The car kind of skids out of one of the plowed paths, so we're in now like 14 inches of snow. And I jump out of the car to get the shovel because I've been stuck before. So I jump out of the car to get the shovel, which was stuck, 25 feet away. And as I get to about where the shovel is, I turn around and I hear my friend in the car going, Justin, and the car is moving in reverse. So because the car got stuck, I didn't put it in park, which is why you should never buy automatic cars. And what happened was the door was open and the car went in reverse and ripped the door off the side of the car. That's the first one. The second one was a time that the school parking lot had been plowed, where they put all of the snow onto one side of the parking lot. So the
probably like 25 or 30 feet high.
Yeah, the snowbanks were enormous. 25 to 30 feet, I think would be accurate. So a different friend and I had this idea in a Jeep Wrangler. We were going to back up to the far side of the parking lot. And then what we were going to do was drive as fast as we could to get on top of the snowbank. Well, what happened was we backed all the way to the far end of the parking lot and got going as absolutely fast as we could. and we just ran directly into the snowbank and buried the car into the snowbank to the point where we were deep enough that we couldn't see anything. We were completely engulfed in the snow. We had to roll the windows down to get out of the car. And
You gained a little bit of height. You probably got 3 or 4 feet up.
yeah, no, we were up there a little bit, but I don't know. I don't remember exactly how we got out, but I remember we called you. It must have been 11 o'clock.
At like midnight.
Yeah. And I said, hey, can you come down to the school and bring a shovel? And you were like, what do I need to bring a shovel? And then I think your mom might have driven you down.
No, that
And-
was a different time.
Okay, well,
No, that one I just
couldn't-
left the house and drove down to the school at midnight on a school night, and nobody really batted an eye. And I get there with the shovel, and I'm like, this is a problem far beyond what a shovel can solve.
yeah, we had to drive back to the house to get another Jeep and a tow strap and try to rip this Jeep out of the pile of snow, which was actually very difficult. There's a lot of stories I could tell about getting Jeeps stuck in the snow.
Yeah, and then after that, we went to like Burger King at 3:30 in the morning.
Well, it was a tough night of shoveling and being stuck in the snow. So, you got to reward yourself. And I think we probably went there to run at the track anyways. That used to be the thing, is we'd go to the school at 10, 11 o'clock at night and go throw in a quick 5 miles, which now seems completely inconceivable to me, that we would just run and we did this very regularly, run out and do 5 miles. That was the routine, which I wish I could still do that. Maybe I'll find a track out here in New Jersey, except they might arrest me for being there. All right, so outside of going out, actually going out for drives on a snow day is pretty fun. Have we talked about before on the podcast what we used to do with the Jeeps and the tow rope?
Yeah, we've talked about Jeep sledding, but just driving in the snow, like once you get comfortable with it, is really fun. Now, what's not fun is if you have to be somewhere at a set time, then it's not so much fun. But if you're just out driving to enjoy the experience, it is.
Yeah, you have to have good snow tires on there for it to be. If you don't have snow tires on, you're not going anywhere. Maybe off the road. But with a good pair of snow tires on, you can get some traction, you can drive around, and if you get the feel for the car and learn how to slide, and especially if you have the emergency. Have you noticed that the emergency brakes on all the new cars is a push button?
No, but that's terrible.
It is absolutely terrible. So the new cars have a push button emergency brake. The old ones used to have a lever that you could crank on and let go of, and it would lock up your rear wheels. So you could really like spin out and rip the emergency brake and just do some crazy stuff. That's it's too bad, man. Too bad that you can't do that anymore.
And so I really think that with remote learning and everything, a snow day should still be a snow day. And not that I'm ever going to have kids, but if I did have kids and there was a snow day and the kids are like, well, we have to sign in to the remote learning today, I'd say, screw that.
Go play outside.
You guys are going to play outside and do other things.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is I think a lot of kids may not want to go outside on a snow day, but I think it's important that you get outside, you go play in the snow.
Have a snowball fight.
Yeah, build a snowman. Now you got to have the right kind of snow to build a snowman.
It has to be kind of wet.
Yeah, it can't be cold, fluffy snow, because the snow has to stick to itself. Oh, maybe I'll do that this weekend. We got a decent amount of snow. Maybe I'll try to build one in the driveway, then peel up some of the snow in the driveway. And then sledding. I recently bought some sleds on the internet, and when they arrived, they are like, did I tell you I bought sleds?
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, I really wanted to get some sleds for the backyard, and they're like miniature sleds. They're sleds for like 3-year-olds, which I had no.
Should have done your research.
I couldn't find sleds anywhere. I went to Dick's, I went to Target. None of these stores had sleds. So I was like, well, let me just buy them online. and these sleds came in, and they're baby sleds. So I also bought a snowboard. So it's a mini snowboard with a little rope, so you don't strap your feet into it. That I'm pretty excited for
Yeah.
that. And so
You
maybe
got to
I'll,
build yourself a jump too.
yeah, that was another thing we used to do is we would we built a ski jump into the driveway, which maybe in retrospect not the best idea. And I'm pretty sure we videotaped ourselves going off of the ski jump, which is
Wouldn't
footage that
surprise me.
neither one of us has watched or probably had any desire to watch at all
Nope.
in the last 2+ decades. All right, so what? I just to take a moment to kind of feel we can mourn the loss of the snow day because I really don't think that there's any school districts that will see any value in just giving kids a day off when they can be learning remotely, and that's a shame. But
Yeah.
in order for that to hold up, though, year after year, the schools are going to, because presumably kids are going to come back to school full time. Being in school is good for kids to be socialized and things like that. There's a lot of benefit of being in school. So once we get far enough past coronavirus, then
I
then
think
I don't know if they'll be
I
giving
think
kids
all schools
iPads every year.
I think all schools will have kind of a remote learning option that they can employ at any time, not necessarily because of COVID, but just because COVID has shown that it's a decent backup plan. I would question whether it's decent, but the schools believe that it's decent. And so I would think that moving forward into the future, schools are always going to have a remote learning backup plan for any sort of contingency, whether it's a snow day or a COVID or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't particularly foresee schools definitely having a remote learning option moving forward. I think what people won't learn their lesson from coronavirus, and
I'm
the
not
only
saying that that remote learning will happen regularly. It's not like if
no,
you're
but
going
you're
to such and such a public school, you can choose like a fully remote learning option. I don't think that's going to be very common, but I think that all schools are going to have a remote learning component that they selectively employ.
but that would mean keeping all of their students up to date with technology and connectivity, and that's where I feel like that's very difficult to do, and I don't necessarily, I think maybe there is a chance for the snow day. Maybe there is a chance 6 years from now that every kid isn't going to have a connected iPad.
You
Although,
would hope.
actually, well, here's my thinking actually, because I was talking to uh, a middle schooler about textbooks and and how expensive textbooks are. A textbook, 2 years worth of textbooks of one book is, so if you had to buy the same math book 1 year and then another year, is about the same cost as an iPad.
Yeah.
So, but an iPad can be every book, and you don't have to refresh that iPad every year when they update the contents of the book. It's just automatically loaded onto the iPad. So when you have a book and it gets outdated, you have to throw that book away and buy the new one. With an iPad, you can just download the new one. And one iPad does science, math, English, social studies. It does all of the subjects. So I think actually there's a good chance that all students are going to be given a restricted use, no porn iPad.
Yeah, with just heavy parental controls controlled by the school district as to what they can and can't do on it.
Yeah, but also
Um,
a very hard case on top of it, because
yeah,
kids
so that
can
they don't
break.
destroy it.
Yeah, kids can break anything, and it's going to be the same kid that's always got like the shattered up iPad.
Yeah, it makes
Like,
me think of a friend of ours who, like, day two of owning a new cell phone, and it looked trashed.
yeah, some people. It's it it is crazy. I always see the same people with the same beat up phones, and I wonder what the reason is for that. I don't have a case on any phone. I have a laptop. I have an iPad. I have 3 cell phones. I use them, all the time. And I carry 2 phones to and from work and the laptop to and from work. And I shattered an iPhone screen back in 2008, back in 2009, Easter weekend. See, it's the only cell phone
In
screen I've
15
broken.
years of no, almost 20 years of cell phone ownership, I've cracked a screen once, and that was recently, and I'm pissed about it because I can't even replace this phone.
But yeah, but you see the same people with damaged phones all the time. So I don't know what that is. Maybe these people aren't buying their own phones, and
Or they just don't care about the condition of their belongings.
maybe. But I think they do, and I think they get really mad when things break. I got to knock on some wood here because it's probably manufactured wood. Hang on. Just knocking anything wooden like around me. I don't want to be telling you this, and then tomorrow I go out and just boom, crack my phone. How did you break your phone last time? I'm just curious.
Oh, I was getting out of the car. I was in a rush. I had to go to the bank, and it was before my job started. And I was like, all right, hop out of the car because we need to get into the bank to beat the other people that are walking into the bank. And my phone was like in a pocket, but like not fully in a pocket. So as I jumped out of the car, the phone jumped out of my pocket, landed on the sidewalk, and that was that. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, BlackBerry's dragging their heels on their 5G phone, so I don't really have many options. There's like 2 phones on the market right now that have buttons.
yeah. I'm sorry, pal. It's you might have to adopt those digital buttons.
Nope, nope. I'm
There's
running this phone until it no longer works in any capacity.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I upgrade one of the phones every year, which means
Dude,
I
I don't
keep.
have a contacts list on my phone.
You don't have a contact list on your phone?
No.
How I have a theory that that phone numbers are going to start to disappear. And I realize this. I started, I call like some restaurants and stuff over the last few weeks, and when you call businesses, you just open the app and then type call or push the button that says call. I don't even know what their phone numbers are. I never had to dial their number to begin with. Now it connects me to the number, but as far as I'm concerned, the number is like computer coding, except it goes through the phone line. So I foresee phone numbers really phasing out, and people are just going to have buttons where you can call them. A lot of people already call people through their apps, right?
Hmm.
So you call somebody on Instagram app or on WhatsApp or Telegram or something like that. You can have a real phone conversation. You never have to dial a number. You never even have to see their phone number. You just tap the call icon. So, but will you just remember people's numbers or you write them down?
So my text messages still work. So from a certain date and before, the phone can like somehow reference the text messages and remember some people's phone numbers. But anybody after this is now like a year and a half or almost 2 years ago, anybody that I met after that, like I can't store a phone number. I also don't have a call history. If I get a missed call from you, if I get 2, like I can see the number. If I get 2 missed calls, I see 2 missed calls but no numbers. So if I have 2 missed calls, I don't know who called me.
Damn, I can see why you're pushing for snow days to stay in existence. You're just a man of nostalgia. You like the old school.
But yeah, like this has been an issue when I've like dated girls and they're like, "Why haven't you saved my number in your phone?" Like I can't.
As in what the space is just you have no more space on your phone. Oddly
No, no,
intrigued
no. There was
into.
something happened with the software on it where like the contacts list bugged and was causing all
Okay.
sorts of errors. And the only way I was able to fix it was to delete the contacts app. And when I did that, I lost all of my contacts. And I can't reinstall the contacts app because it would cause the same issues that led me to delete it. But I thought that all of my contacts were saved to like the Google Cloud or whatever. Nope. So it's
Oh man,
if I
I'm
lose my
jealous.
text messages, I lose all my numbers.
I'm intrigued as to how you can do this, but I'm also jealous. Rosh just made a comment about the new Aziz Ansari special where Aziz actually pulls out his phone and it's an actual flip phone, old school flip phone, and I'm very jealous of that as well. I'd like the idea of being able to go back and not have access to the entire world at my fingertips. You just have an emergency device for people to reach you on emergency occasions. And then when you want to explore the world at your fingertips, you can go to a desktop computer. You can do it that way, but you're not even forced to resist the temptation to jump on social media or search the internet. It's not an option for you at all. So, to that degree, I really miss the years where you just had limited capabilities on a mobile device, or even before having a mobile device, where you had to get home to make a phone call, check your voicemail from home. And like I said, I'm a bit jealous, but still intrigued as to how you can exist with an old phone with no contacts.
I don't know. I'll show you next time I see you.
If you could remember my address to find me. But that's it. That's about all I got today on the snow day stuff. I wanted to touch on the Chinese New Year because it's obviously current, and it's a fascinating, very cool holiday. I think Chinese culture is very just exciting for me because it's so foreign. There's so much stuff that I can't even begin to comprehend because it's so foreign. So so that's cool. I mean, just for an example, if you order Chinese food at an American Chinese food establishment, you're going to get things like fried chicken wings and egg rolls and fortune cookies and General's House chicken. That's not the cuisine of a regular Chinese person living somewhere in China. They're not eating that stuff on a regular basis. I don't think
Or
you
at
could.
all.
I don't think you could sustain a physique that fits into any Asian-made clothing. We talked about the Japanese clothing being way smaller than American clothing. And Japanese people don't just go around eating sushi breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, but yeah,
Sepet says, I'll find out who my friends are now. Like, yeah, like it's
that's true.
But it's when I get a text message, sometimes it's an adventure because I have to like look through the history and be like, who is this?
I've been having some issues with my contacts list actually also, and every once in a while I get a bit of a random message, very confusing for me. So, but that's it. We're out of time. I want to thank everybody for joining on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and don't forget, guys, to go subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the audio podcast platforms. We'd love to see you guys there. We'd love to see your comments on YouTube and know what you want to hear about next. And we actually like it when you disagree with us a little bit because we know we're right, and we just like to put you in your place. So if you disagree with us anywhere, feel free to share that disagreement.
We got a shout out to Rosh, who currently is suffering from both a broken back and the bubonic plague.
Yeah, the bubonic plague that he claims not to have coronavirus, but he is he's in rough shape tonight, and he is feeding us your comments. And for that, we thank him. It's the only way we can see you guys because James and I got to interact with each other while we're live. So thank you guys that way. On that note, I'm out of here. Adios.
Laters.
See ya. All right, you made it to the other end of the podcast. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for having been there. And you ought to subscribe to the podcast if you want to. See you guys next time. Adios.
I like PBR. I just got priced out of it.